Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a time where it's easy to feel overwhelmed. We chase big dreams, set huge goals, and expect instant results. But let me ask you something. What if I told you that the real secret to lasting success, growth, and fulfillment is not in massive overnight change, but in small, intentional actions taken every single day? You don't have to transform your entire life in a day. You just need to do one thing every day that pushes you forward. One thing that makes you stronger, smarter, healthier, or more focused. One thing that helps you learn, reflect, connect, or grow. Think of it like this. A single drop of water seems insignificant, but drop by drop, over time, it fills an ocean. Your life is that ocean, and your small daily actions, they are the drops. The key is consistency, not perfection. Every day won't be perfect, but every day offers a chance to show up and do something, however small, to improve your life. It could be as simple as reading one page of a book, stretching for 5 minutes, calling a loved one, writing in a journal, meditating for a few breaths, or just choosing a glass of water over a soda. It's not about the size of the action, it's about building the habit of improvement. And that habit, over time, becomes a lifestyle, and that lifestyle, that's where success lies. Remember, small steps every day lead to big changes over time. We often believe that to make a real difference in our lives, we need to do something massive. We think we need to start a business, run a marathon, write a book, or completely change our lifestyle in one bold move. But that belief is a trap. It paralyzes us. Why? Because the weight of big changes feels overwhelming, and when we feel overwhelmed, we do nothing at all. But the truth is this: transformation doesn't happen in one leap. It happens through the repetition of small steps. Tiny, seemingly insignificant actions done day after day start to add up. They accumulate like drops of water filling a jar. One drop may look like nothing, but hundreds of drops. That's progress. That's a full jar. Think about it. Brushing your teeth takes only 2 minutes. It's a small act, but done twice a day, every day, it maintains your oral health for years. You don't wait until your teeth decay to start brushing them for 3 hours straight, right? You do the small thing daily, and that's what keeps the decay away. The same logic applies to your mindset, your habits, your goals, your fitness, your relationships, and your career. One positive action today could be waking up early. Tomorrow it could be writing a paragraph of your book. The day after that, making a healthy food choice. None of these things will change your life in an instant, but done consistently, they will change your life over time. What matters most is not how much you do in a single day, but how often you do it. If you commit to doing just one thing daily, no matter how small, you begin to train your brain to expect growth, to lean toward improvement, and to reject stagnation. That's where momentum is born. Small actions reduce resistance. They're not scary, they're not overwhelming, they're doable, and because they're doable, you actually do them. You move forward instead of standing still. And that movement, however slight, becomes the foundation of something bigger, something stronger, something life-changing. Perfection is often portrayed as the ultimate goal. We're taught to aim high, to do things flawlessly, to wait for the perfect timing, the perfect setup, the perfect mood. But here's the reality: perfection is a myth. It's a moving target, and worse, it's the #1 killer of progress. When we chase perfection, we unintentionally delay action. We wait until we feel ready. We keep editing, rethinking, hesitating. And in that waiting, we lose time, we lose momentum, we lose the chance to grow through doing. But progress is real, tangible. Honest, it's not about flawless execution, it's about movement. About learning, stumbling, adjusting, and continuing forward. It's messy, it's imperfect, but it's alive. When you focus on simply making progress each day, even if it's just 1% better, you step out of the prison of perfectionism. You give yourself permission to grow at your own pace. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to do everything. You just have to do something. Let's say you want to start journaling. Perfection says, I need the perfect notebook, the right pen, and a quiet morning with a candle lit by the window. Progress says grab any notebook, write down how you feel in 2 sentences and move on. One keeps you stuck. The other gets you started. Progress honors effort. It celebrates small wins. It embraces the idea that improvement is not about getting everything right. It's about showing up even when conditions aren't perfect. It teaches you resilience, flexibility, and self-trust. When you choose progress over perfection, you start building confidence through experience, not theory. You begin to realize that growth doesn't require ideal conditions. It just requires consistent motion, one small, flawed, brave step at a time. We often dream about a better future, a future where we are healthier, wealthier, wiser, more at peace, more successful. We imagine the kind of life we want to live, the person we want to become. But what we sometimes forget is that the bridge between that dream and our reality is not built in the future. It's built right now in the present. Every decision you make today is a vote for the life you will live tomorrow. Every small act, no matter how unimportant it may seem, is part of a greater design. Whether it's choosing to read instead of scroll, to stretch instead of snooze, to drink water instead of soda, or to speak kindly instead of harshly, these micro decisions compound over time. We don't suddenly become successful, confident, disciplined, or fulfilled. We build those qualities through repeated, intentional action. The person you will be 5 years from now is being shaped by the routines, thoughts, and behaviors you're practicing today. Even if you don't see the impact yet, it's easy to underestimate a single day. To think, what's the big deal if I skip the workout? What does it matter if I blow off reading today? But one day turns into 2, 2 turns into a week, and before you know it, you've drifted away from the future you wanted, simply because you didn't realize that today mattered. The truth is, today is the most powerful tool you have, not yesterday, which is already written, not tomorrow, which hasn't arrived, but today, this moment, is where your life is shaped, and the beautiful part? You don't have to overhaul everything at once. You just have to take ownership of this day, control what you can control, invest in habits that align with your vision, plant seeds now, even if they seem small or slow to grow, because they will define the kind of future you harvest. Every repetition today makes the next one easier. Every step forward, however small, adds to the path, and if you stay consistent in the present, the future stops being a dream and begins to look more and more like a reality. There's a common belief that in order to improve our lives, we have to exert extraordinary effort, that unless we dedicate hours, push ourselves to the edge, or go all in, our actions won't count. But that belief often does more harm than good. It discourages us before we even begin. It convinces us that if we can't do everything, we might as well do nothing. But true improvement, lasting, sustainable improvement, doesn't begin with intensity. It begins with intention, a quiet decision to move forward no matter how gently, a simple choice to be just a little better than yesterday. That kind of intentionality can be applied to any moment in any area of life. Improvement could be choosing to take 5 deep breaths when you're stressed, instead of reacting impulsively. It could be drinking an extra glass of water, reading 1 page of a book, tidying 1 corner of your room. Saying no to something that drains you, or yes to something that feeds your spirit. These aren't massive, headline-worthy efforts. They don't take hours or drain your energy, but what they do is create alignment. They show that you are living with awareness, that you are paying attention to the direction of your life, that you are choosing to participate in your growth rather than leaving it to chance. The beauty of intention is that it empowers you in every moment. You don't need a gym membership to stretch for 60 seconds. You don't need a perfect morning routine to pause and reflect. You don't need to be in the right mood to make a better choice. You just need to be aware and then act from that awareness. This mindset breaks down the walls of resistance. It takes improvement out of the impossible and brings it into the reachable. Because when improvement becomes about small, intentional steps, it becomes something you can practice daily, not something you have to wait for perfect conditions to achieve. It's not about how much you do, it's about doing it with purpose. When your actions are rooted in intention, they carry more weight, they create ripple effects, they begin to shape your habits, your mindset, and ultimately your life. Change has a rhythm to it, a chain reaction that often begins with a single small shift. Many people underestimate this domino effect. They think that a minor change won't matter unless it's dramatic or visible. But life rarely transforms through grand gestures. Most often, it evolves through a quiet series of connected steps, each one influencing the next in subtle but powerful ways. Imagine this. You start your day by making your bed. It's a simple task, takes less than 2 minutes, but that one action often leads to the next. You feel a bit more organized, so you decide to tidy your desk. Now that your space feels cleaner, you're more focused, so you start your work earlier. Because you started earlier, you finish your tasks sooner and have time to go for a walk in the evening. That walk clears your mind, and you sleep better that night, and all of it started with the decision to make your bed. That's how it works. One intentional decision improves your mindset, your environment, your mood, and then encourages another positive decision to follow. This isn't about forcing discipline in every moment. It's about allowing one win to create space for another. The momentum of improvement is self-reinforcing as you act in your own best interest, even in tiny ways. You start to notice a shift in your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who cares about progress. And with that, your standards rise. You want to eat better because you exercised earlier. You want to speak more kindly because you journaled and reflected. You want to be more present because you meditated and slowed down your thoughts. The brilliance of this cascading effect is that you don't need to overhaul everything at once. You just need to plant a single seed. From that one seed, roots spread, habits grow, and before you know it, you're standing in the middle of a lifestyle that once felt impossible to build. The shift becomes natural because the first choice made the next one easier. The next one made the next one obvious, and gradually, almost effortlessly, your entire routine begins to reflect the person you're becoming, not the person you were. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, it's easy to feel powerless. News cycles, social media, responsibilities, comparisons. So much of life seems to spin outside of our control, and when we feel like everything is out of our hands, we tend to freeze. We procrastinate, we scroll, we numb out, waiting for the perfect moment to start living with purpose. But here's the truth. Control isn't something you wait for, it's something you reclaim through daily action. When you choose to take one meaningful action each day, no matter how small, you begin to realize that you have more influence over your life than you thought. You can't control the world, but you can control your choices. You can't predict the future, but you can shape your direction. You can't force outcomes, but you can show up today and do something that matters, and in doing so, you begin to feel grounded, empowered. Present, daily action is like planting a flag in the ground. It's a quiet statement. I am not a bystander in my own life. Whether that action is journaling, exercising, learning, creating, cleaning, or simply pausing to breathe, you're actively participating in your own growth. You're not waiting for motivation. You're not waiting for external permission. You're deciding that today is worth something, that you are worth something. And what's even more powerful is that daily action gives structure to your life. It creates rhythm and routine in a world that is constantly shifting. When everything else feels uncertain, your habit becomes your anchor. It reminds you of your values, your direction, your priorities. You wake up knowing there's at least one thing you can control, what you do with this day. It doesn't matter how small that action is. What matters is the message it sends to your subconscious. It tells your brain, I take responsibility. I have agency. I am moving forward. That message, repeated daily, begins to change how you see yourself, not as someone who is stuck, but as someone who is capable of creating movement, no matter the circumstances. Many people try to change their lives by first changing how they think. They try to convince themselves that they're disciplined, motivated, successful, or that they will be someday, but the reality is, true identity change doesn't start in the mind. It starts with action. Who you are is not just what you believe or desire, it's what you repeatedly do. Every small action you take is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. When you choose to read instead of scroll, you're casting a vote for becoming a learner. When you go for a walk instead of lying in bed, you're voting for being an active, energized person. When you keep a promise to yourself, even something as simple as drinking more water, you're reinforcing the belief that you're someone who follows through. The mistake many people make is trying to force an identity without backing it with behavior. They tell themselves, I want to be confident, but avoid every uncomfortable situation, or I want to be disciplined, but wait for motivation to strike. The truth is, identity shifts when behavior shifts. You don't become confident by thinking confident thoughts. You become confident by doing what a confident person would do, even when you don't feel like it. This is the power of doing one thing daily. That one thing may not seem big in the moment, but it's shaping the story you tell yourself about who you are. Repeat it often enough, it rewires your self-image. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wants to improve and start seeing yourself as someone who does improve. That difference between wanting and doing is what separates wishful thinking from real transformation. When your actions are aligned with your goals, your identity naturally starts to catch up. You no longer need to fake motivation. You begin to act from a place of belief. That belief is not built on empty affirmations. It's built on evidence that comes from your own behavior, repeated consistently, day after day. The strongest identities are not built overnight. They are sculpted slowly, intentionally, patiently. Each repetition is like a chisel stroke on a block of marble. You don't see the full figure right away, but with each small move the shape becomes clearer, more defined, more real. And eventually your outer life begins to reflect the inner truth. You've become the kind of person who does what they said they would do, not because of what you told yourself in your head, but because of what you proved with your hands, your feet, your words, your effort.